Beneath the ground, unseen streams flow. After rain you can hear them. Waters rising through the sands and gravels to the south run down and unite hereabouts. The knowledge of this fact creates a sense of depth, of dimension. Are these natural features now engineered into the city's frame, the hermetic tail end of what was formerly common knowledge, a residue from better times now known only to the elect?
What was your favourite actual part of the film and why?
Me?
Both of you.
I don't know. It's very difficult to say. I think the favourite day filming, I think, was when Nick and Will walked together. I think that was when it started to feel like a film. And so it was a bit of a thrill, because I think, it's a bit. You might have read as well, read about Will walking. He's read those accounts of it. So to actually go along on one was one thing, and to film it was another thing, and also what we got out of that day as well. So it was only an hour. I think I ran off about an hour and a bit, and we used about, I don't know, sort of about 5 minutes in the film, which is not a bad ratio. So it was that was a good day. That was probably the favourite bit of actually filming it, I think. And the day over at Mogden was.
That was beautiful.
That was a good day, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went to Mogden Purification Works and then to Bronzefield Prison in Ashford, which was the site of Ashford Remand.
I just had an operation on my knee. I could barely walk. It was still all swollen. I had a crutch with me, trying to film and walk. But it was a good day.
I didn't care at all. I just wanted to be on camera.
Talking.
Come on, John, hurry up.
There are a lot of people that have made films and they've never had those experiences where the subject of the film is going, come on, are you going to film me or what? And you're clearly changing tape or something, or you're getting a landscape shot. Well, come on.
Some of the best footage for me in the film was I arranged to meet John at Stonebridge Park at 1 o'clock one afternoon, and he hadn't turned up by about 1:10, so I phoned him and he hadn't actually left Camden Town yet.
No,
he had to go to Camden Town.
It was 5 o'clock, yeah. And then you went off walking somewhere else.
I went off following a stream that joins the Brent.
It was another one of those things where I was actually doing something else. I'm paid to, and so I said, I can't come now. I'll come as quickly as I can, so I can get back to the office, to get the camera before the office shut, and don't have time to recharge the batteries or anything like that. Just grab it, hope there was tape in the bag, and there was, and then the walk ended in front of the Hoover factory, and the battery ran out. So Nick was talking in front of the Hoover factory, everything on, lovely shot. I had about a second of it.
And I was a bit frustrated, and yet the limitations that were imposed in terms of filming time seemed to work in our favour. They placed constraints, and we had to be really efficient, didn't we? And a lot of the shots where I'm talking about my past and how the landscape has become an ally and that sort of thing were taken on that day. So I mean, one of my things is I like rummaging around in sort of skips and finding old documents, and I did actually used to burgle empty houses, not places where people live, places that have been derelict for a long time in the 1980s, sort of Rajinsky's room sort of thing, and bring out old letters and things. And one of the things I liked to do was I might find an old letter in North Finchley that had actually originally been delivered to a house in Ealing, say, and I'd go down to Ealing and just sort of look at this house and look at this letter and think, this letter arrived at this house in 1936, and it felt like a kind of way in to something that was quite powerful. Although what the people who lived there thought, I don't know, when they looked out the window. Holding a letter again.
Did you ever deliver them?
I was tempted to sort of just leave one on a doorstep and sort of stuff like that. Sort of trigger a kind of spontaneous time travel experience. I'd like to do a autobiography next to get that out of the way, because I was addicted to dihydrocodeine for 20 years, and I used to buy codeine linctus from chemists. I used to travel all over Middlesex visiting towns, hitting the chemists to buy codeine linctus. It used to affect what I thought of places. So, for instance, if I went to Shepperton and they didn't sell me any codeine linctus, I'd sort of say to my friends, Shepperton, that place is a fucking shithole. But what it meant was the chemist wouldn't sell me any codeine linctus. So I'd like to sort of fuse that sort of addiction story, great backstory, with some kind of topography.
You still do that, don't you, as well? Like even, I met you at Lower Marsh once, and you said, oh, I really like Lower Marsh. I thought of all the sort of deep topographic reasons why you might be attracted to Lower Marsh, is that street, the market behind Waterloo Station. Oh, yeah, I like it too, Nick. I was about to get all kind of poncy about it, and you went, yeah, there's a chemist down here, and he used to sell me loads of codeine linctus. I was really whacked to sit in that park over there.
Nick, it seemed like it was a real personal thing to you, this project that you've been on for the last 20 odd years. How do you feel now that the film's been made, and do you think there's any danger of doing to deep topography what Sinclair himself have done to psychogeography?
It's interesting you say 20 years. It's almost 20 years to the day. It was July 1989 that I, if you like, first consciously walked, if you like. I just finished training at an addiction treatment centre in Kent, and it had gone wrong and I'd been thrown out, basically. I was in quite a lot of pain, and I found a London Transport walking book from 1976 and did a walk from Amersham to Rickmansworth via Latimer on the Chess Valley, and that was the first time I consciously walked, and I found something strange happen to me when I walked. Put it this way, I'm sure I'm not the only person it happens to, but when I sort of read the Ramblers Association magazine, and to some extent when I read old topographies, they don't seem to write about the same magnitude of experience. It's possible that the way I experience the landscape has been refracted through certain modern sensibilities and vast amounts of magic mushrooms that I took when I was a teenager. And that's kind of affected, you know, we're a rock and roll electronic generation, whether we like it or not, we see the world slightly differently. Possibly an element of bigging myself up as well. I don't know what deep topography is, and I've got to say that Tina Richardson, a student at Leeds University, wrote an essay about me and started calling it deep topology. And I'm wondering if I shouldn't do a Sinclair and say I'm a fully signed up sort of member of deep topology, and I don't use that hackneyed term deep topography anymore.
Put it on camera now.
Good for Tina Richardson. And it's always been, years ago when I was walking, a friend used to say you ought to write a book about this, and I felt that I was so hurt, if I can get a bit personal, I was so hurt and so going off licking my wounds, I didn't want to bring this world back into the arena of the culture for it to be kind of chatted about and all the rest of it. And yet it's very tantalising to be in a film, to appear in public and to talk about it like I'm doing right at this moment. And I suppose in a sense you could see it as the corruption is starting at this stage. It's an uneasy thing for me. It's an uneasy thing for me. But you know, it's again, it's that contradiction. You know, I'd like to be subject of a South Bank show. You know, I'd like to be sort of like part of the culture as the man who's totally uninterested in being part of the culture. I'm a bit of a wanker with this stuff. It's like you can't. It's like something out of sort of Derrida or something. You know, deconstruction. It's like you. It's almost like it so impinges on the way we think that you can't twist out of it, or you twist out of it, and then I'm going to write about how I twisted out of it. You know, and you're back in again.
You are quite. It's interesting you say because we have these conversations weekly and
every day.
Yeah, and what's interesting is Nick takes it, and I completely sympathise with him and empathise with him. But then he is part of the culture because you know there'll be people in the bookshop here. I'm sure that go. You say Nick Papadimitriou, people go, oh, I've heard of him because you know like Will's written about you, so you're in Will's work, right? So straight away you're in. Iain's mentioned you on Radio 4. I've heard Iain Sinclair mention you on Radio 4 twice. He mentioned you at a screening at the other cinema, not the other cinema, the Renoir. Did talk about you for about 3 or 4 minutes, and Russell used to do a character partly based on you as well. And you were mentioned twice on Russell's radio show, you know. So you sort of have permeated the culture in a way that most people never do, you know.
Doomed.
Yeah.
I failed in my project.
Yeah, no.